Come see this thing 1563, Funding Mamdani, EU Folds, Dissecting Marxism. This is a series where I summarize rantatonne posts made up of at least 3 things I have read, seen, or heard. First question, is this the CCP's George Soros? One of my earliest posts on rantatonne talked about how, let's say you were a butcher and you ran a butcher shop and you had connections in the farm, and then you had a son who came up and he was dabbling in a few other things here and there. And then eventually he wasn't really finding his way in life, so you figured out to just teach him the ropes of being a butcher, and then he takes over the butcher shop. And in that case, I was talking about the Bush family, who just happened to be involved in the business of politics. Prescott was in there, then HW became president, then W came in. But even just how some other people who their business is basketball, like with LeBron James, he's bringing his son in, but doesn't mean they're always going to be successful, like you saw with Jeb. So I've said it before, one thing scarier than any conspiracy theory is that they are not. There is no single group of people that knows all that's going on and is mysteriously guiding things to follow some plan of what they consider to be the greater good. What we actually see is the best that humanity can do so far. That also means you don't need to start a competitor to an organization like Code Pink or earn billions of dollars before you can start supporting things you object to or are for, or be backed by organizations that include relatives of billionaires and long-term democratic machine founders to lift you up as one of the people candidates to bring the commie utopia as mayor of a city that this time will totes be done well in order to actually make changes in your life. And whatever those changes are, whatever small they are, whatever other things you might think they are, those changes could substantially affect those that you know, and who knows, they could go further to result in actual increased human flourishing on spaceship Earth. It's your choice. If you're hearing this, chances are there's more you can do to improve your life and the lives of those around you. Don't believe those who want you to accept powerlessness to reinforce their perceived power to rule over you. Next question, did Trump get Ursula to pay what they owe US? Humans are a sexually dimorphic species. As such, the male and female bodies our genes built have evolved a behavioral psychology to better meet our genetic drive for boys/girls to remain alive long enough for the genes to reproduce themselves. As we interacted socially over time driven by our genes, we have constructed some significant differences dictating what the adult man/woman does that fits into the masculine/feminine expectations in any given society. Sometimes you are faced with the reality that X is X. Regardless of your preference to Y, there are Z results defined by the fact of X. It does not matter if your genes are XX or XY, sometimes your X is not as great as another X. And in this section, I highlight an example of a recessive trait meeting a dominant trait in the complex geo-body politic of current timeline, where the leader of the new world power in Trump and the ostensible leader of what is left of the old power in Ursula von der Leyen both have an X they would prefer to do Y with, which resulted in the realistic Z situation. At least realistic if you're paying to people on more realpolitik versus the narrative that's out there and things like that, and the reaction to X continues to be as interesting as X, if not more, and you see how people are covering this so-called framework agreement of the trade deal. Last question. What sounds bad, contains bad, and is applied bad? It's Marxism. It's Marxism, which is a collectivist ideology, ideation, which some people actually believe in as a religion, and that's being discussed in this section, where there's a conversation between G.P. Manish and Tom Woods, where they stipulate for the sake of argument that the labor theory of value and other base ideas that Marx had are correct, and then praxeologically apply that to the world and show how the stuff just doesn't work.